Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to our live stream. Dr. Selfridge here. How's everybody doing? We have a very special guest today that we're going to introduce in 1 minute. As you can see, among the many instruments that our special guest plays, he plays guitar. So he's going to give us a little music here while we wait for some people to jump in. This is also going to be a sound check. Let me know in the chat if you can hear the guitar, if you think it should be a little bit louder. Let us know how volume is on the guitar, okay? We got some haze. We got Libby. Hi, Libby. Diana. Hi, Megan. Oh, who's that? PT?
Little louder.
Little louder? Yeah, I think so too. Eric, Megan, Apple Juice. Hi, Apple Juice.
We got a clarinet player.
Okay, Lucy. Hi, guys. You know what also would be cool? Let us know where you're watching from. As always, I always like to know where. Oh, I know that one. Name that tune if you know it. Let us know where you're watching from. I'd like to know where all of us are gathered together here.
Houston, Florida, Pennsylvania, Kentucky.
Isn't that sweet?
Wow, this is
good.
Deep.
Who got it? Narragansett. I can't quite read your name, but they got it. Sweet Home, Alabama. Good job. Yeah. Nikki said she's watching from her dad's house. UK. Hi, everybody there in the UK. New Jersey, the UK. So I've been moving the times around a little bit of our live streams, just by trying to see what time fits best. And I know doing it earlier in the day, I know our friends who are overseas, it's a little bit better for you guys. Not quite so late at night. Okay. So, all right, lots of great stuff. So keep checking in. We have somebody watching from Malaysia. That's super cool. So welcome, everybody. As you saw on my preview for this live stream, our guest today is Mr. Stewart. So say hi, Mr. Stewart.
Hey, everybody. I'm Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart is a music teacher in my school district, in our school district.
It is now ours.
Yes, it's now our school district. Mr. Stewart, why don't you tell the kids and the folks watching what you teach now, what kind of music teaching you've done, and let's start with that.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm a middle school music teacher. Hey, everybody who's saying hi. Sophia says hi. Hi, Sophia. I teach middle school general music now, but I've been teaching I taught where Mr. Selfridge teaches now at the high school for a semester. I did the concert band there. And then I went down and taught also where Mr. Selfridge taught, 4th and 5th grade band, which is so much fun. I really love working with instruments and working with bands. But outside of that and where I teach now, I teach a lot of marching band with Mr. Selfridge as well and his band. And I teach private guitar lessons along with drum lessons at this awesome studio in Aston. And I play a lot of shows, rock and roll shows on guitar, bass, drums, all of that.
Nice. So, since you're a band director, so when you go to school to be a band director, you have usually a band instrument that is your primary. What's your primary band instrument?
My primary band instrument is also saxophone, just like Mr. Selfridge. Alto sax, best instrument.
Oh well, you know, they're all lovely instruments.
They are all the best instruments.
You mentioned marching band, Mr. Stewart.
Yeah.
And one of our viewers, I had it written down here, Megan Heinrich is out there. And Megan, you were asking on the chat before we started, you were asking about marching band. So if you want to chime in and let us know what your question was about marching band, or if any of you have questions about marching band, Mr. Stewart.
I see one. Do we march straight leg or bent leg?
Okay.
So at Garnet Valley, we teach straight leg technique, which is where you swing from the hips and we're not bending our knees every time we take a step, as demonstrated. It looks really, really nice when it's all done and it's on the field. So when we watch rehearsals from the back of the boxes, it looks like all the little soldiers are marching in time. So we do straight leg technique.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. So any more marching band questions, you can chime in with those. So yeah, Mr. Stewart came on board this year to our school district, and not only does he teach with me on the marching band staff, but he wrote the music for our show.
I did. I like along with teaching and performing instruments, composing is something that I've really been into, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to write the whole Garnet Valley show. So I'm sure at one point in time we're going to have videos of the show, up and about. So on YouTube or somewhere, you guys should check them out because it's really cool all the hard work that the kids have been putting in with us the past 3-4 weeks.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and we're almost done learning the show. We've had a lot of difficult. We've had a lot of roadblocks between bad weather preventing us from practicing outside, and then we've had some days off from school and some things like that. So we're working on finishing our show. Actually, how many of you, if you guys could chime in, how many of you are in high school marching band? And maybe you could tell us what kind of show you're doing, what kind of music you're doing.
Yeah, that would be great. I also see a question up there that yes, clarinet is in marching bands. Maybe not some marching bands, but our marching band has all of the instruments.
Yeah, Rowan Buckham asked if they're clarinet and marching band.
Yeah.
So great. We also want to welcome, we have our support team here online who's helping us catch some of your questions that maybe we don't see in the chat. Do we have anything coming through that is popping out as a question for us to answer, Dennis?
Yeah, one of the things that came out earlier was someone wanted to know how to play trumpet with braces.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
Braces on?
Right. Okay. So how to play trumpet when you have braces. We talked about this a little bit last week, and Mr. Stewart, I'm sure you know this. The challenge for every middle school band director, mostly middle school band directors, is a lot of kids, a ton of kids get braces on some point in their lives. Middle school, sometimes as early as elementary school, sometimes in high school. I got my braces on in high school.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, and playing sax was kind of tough. Like that initial switch when you get the braces was kind of tough. I know for braces on saxophone, I mean, maybe we can talk about trumpet a little bit more after this, but I used to get a small plastic tube that the dentist would give me to cover my braces on my bottom lip, so that when I curled it over, I was playing Barry sax at the time. So it wouldn't cut so much.
So something, and they also have that wax, right? Mm-hmm. You can get sometimes your orthodontist will give you this little, at least back when I had braces, they gave you this little thing. It almost looked like a little package of cork grease, but it's not cork grease. It was a wax type thing that you put on your braces. So braces are a challenge for woodwinds. They're sort of would you say they're even more of a challenge for brass players? I
would. You know, I asked a good friend of mine who's a brass player, Mr. Davis, who's done some work with Garnet Valley before, what he says. And he says it actually can help if you have braces and play brass because it's going to force you to push your lips forward just a little bit more. Because sometimes trumpet players in the beginning will pull the trumpet towards their face, which creates kind of like a thin, nasally sound, and sometimes when you have braces, it isn't necessarily comfortable, but it pushes your lips a little bit farther to help have a nicer tone.
So, yeah, you know, what Mr. Stewart was just saying is like a not so great habit that sometimes young trumpet players will get into is thinking that you have to press the trumpet really hard against your teeth to get notes. And that can cause like a thin sound. It also can damage your lips. It can damage your muscles. So there, I'm using my muscles a little bit more to support the mouthpiece, so the mouthpiece isn't going really digging into your lips. And when you have braces, you really have to do that, or you hurt your lips with your braces. So let's move on. Let's see here. Any other questions coming through? Does that work for clarinet too? Do you mean the braces thing? That would work for any instrument, is using firmer lips to not press into your braces, and also using the wax. So Mr. Stewart,
yes,
Mr. Stewart plays guitar, which is really cool. Oh, what do you see?
From the words of Mr. Stewart, don't do the 3 Ps.
Leah, do you see Leah? It's Leah.
Yeah.
Hi, Leah.
Nice. Good. I'm glad that stuck.
Leah is one of our students. What was the?
Don't pinch, pull, and pray.
Oh, right. Okay. So Mr. Stewart has a little saying for brass players of the 3 things not to do, the 3 Ps. Can you talk about that?
So the 3 Ps you should not do with brass playing. I think I was talking about it when we were talking about playing higher notes. One of the things I learned when I wrote the show this year for marching band is how to write trumpet parts. And at my first draft, the trumpets had a lot of really high notes. So I made sure they avoided the 3 P's of trumpet playing, which is pinching, where your lips are way too tight and you get that thin sound, pulling, where you pull the mouthpiece really close to your mouth, and that can be hurtful, and praying that you get the right note of it.
Yes, yes. So you want to have good technique. That's a good rule. Thank you, Leah, for reminding us of that. I see Nikki, and I think, Nikki, are you the Nikki that I know from Garnet Valley? So Nikki wants some guitar stuff. So can you show us some guitar stuff?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, we can see pretty well there.
Messing that up a little bit.
What's that called?
That's a song called Book by a band John. It's an instrumental guitar band. Yeah, it's really cool. It's like jazz and rock and roll put together. They use a lot of really pretty voicings.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's a little.
That really is a pretty sound. How did you get? I mean, it looks so intricate what you're doing with your fingers. How did you get that tricky finger? How did you get those tricky finger patterns?
Scales.
Scales.
Practicing scales
Cool.
and practicing scales. So we all know to practice. And in guitar, we can play that same scale a lot of different ways, but practicing and making sure you do it in groups of 3s.
Oh, what scale was it? What scale was that you just played?
I'm playing concert G.
All right.
Yeah, and you can do some really cool articulation things with that, right?
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like slur 2, tongue 2s. Any of those variations is what I practice a lot to get those techniques. And then
Clarinet squad. Libby said clarinet.
Nice, there you go. And then doing that up and down the neck in every inversion. And an inversion would basically mean if I played the scale and I played it here, the scale sounds the same. It's the same notes and it's the same sound coming out of the guitar, but I'm doing it in a different position, which allows me to access, different things on the neck, different things around the guitar. We
don't really have that on wind instruments. We do have some things called alternate fingerings. We have alternate fingerings.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way.
On clarinet, there's more than one way to play a B. So you got 2 pinkies that can do the same note, kind of like you can do.
I mean, so every string has 2 of each note. That's the way I think of it. So if I played a G, and I could have one here, and I could have one up here, right? Cool. And it's all split that way. So that's one. That is a good connection. Alternate fingerings. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Any questions coming through, Dennis?
Yeah. One young lady keeps asking, how do I get the clarinet to stop squeaking?
Okay. I'll say a few things about that, and then Mr. Stewart can say something.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so the biggest thing with a squeaking clarinet, there's 3 things that can be the culprit that I can think of right now. One of them is it's possible that there's a problem with your clarinet. And so step 1 is make sure that your clarinet is in working condition with a music store or your music teacher can help you. Step 2, I'm guessing it's most likely something here. It's your embouchure or your band face. So if you go check out my video on clarinet band face or embouchure, the most important things to remember are that you have your bottom lip a little bit over your bottom teeth, and it's smooth like this. And then we have firm lips around the mouthpiece, and your teeth are on top of the mouthpiece. And so your air is flowing nice and freely. And then a squeak might also happen if your fingers aren't quite hitting the notes correctly. Make sure you're covering all the keys correctly. Mr. Stewart? Thoughts?
Yeah. That was a good one. And then the last one, again, you said if the clarinet could be broken, sometimes checking pads is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And your reed. Sometimes check your reed. I've seen students play on chipped reeds and on broken reeds that are like really far down the mouthpiece. Just a little bit of mouthpiece showing above the reed is enough to make sure you get a good one.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm just watching. Margot just checked in and said, salut, salut, which is French for hello, hello. What key is that? Is that the one from?
That's G minor.
Is it G minor?
I did concert G minor. Yeah. Didn't you do a video on that?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe this is a good time to do our song that was requested. Libby, hi Libby out there. Libby Thornton requested tenor sax. So I brought my tenor sax, Libby, just for you. And Libby also suggested we play something jazzy. So I thought we could do something that is a modern song that's popular now, but it also has a chord progression that goes back many, many years. I mean, how many songs, Mr. Stewart? Tell us about this chord progression just briefly.
So this chord, me and Mr. Selfridge called a 1-6-2-5, and what those numbers refer to are as different notes in a scale. And as you could learn later in music classes, or you might already know, that all of the notes in the scale can be combined in different ways to make chords. And musicians like Mr. Selfridge and I use those numbers to refer to the chords. And that pattern 1-6-2-5, or even any variation of it, has been used since, I don't even know, like hundreds of years probably.
At least 100. At least 100. Why don't we play the one? The one would be this note, or do, do, and then 6. We do 2 or 4,
and then 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's play that in tempo. 2, 3, 4. Sweet. Now, that chord progression we just played, that could turn into 1,000 different songs. There's so many songs that use that chord progression. But what we're going to do is we're going to play the roots once more, and we're going to go into a melody that I think you're going to recognize, okay? So we're going to play the chord roots, and then I'm going to go into a melody, and we're going to see who can name this tune. Let's see who gets it first.
Let's do it.
All right?
Want to count it off?
Yeah, let's go right into the roots.
Sure.
2, 3. Solo. did you catch who got the name of it first? I'd have to scroll back, but a lot of you got the right answer. That is, yeah, good job. That is Perfect by Ed Sheeran, which is a super popular song. It's an awesome song, but it's a chord progression that you hear in a lot of different songs. I'm trying to think of another song that uses that. That
165.
That 165.
I think of like wedding songs all the time. That's like a slow dance.
Yeah, that's a slow dancer, a slow dance song. Thank you, Libby. That was just for you. I know you were here at our other live streams, and I appreciate you requesting that.
You hear that?
Cactus DIY Jaws theme. So we can talk about what makes the Jaws theme, and it's just half. It's called a half step. I'm doing EF.
Yeah, I'm a little in tune.
Yeah, our piano or guitar are not quite in tune. So the Jaws theme is half steps, one half step. Let's see.
Can you do it?
Can I do what on the flute, Sahasra? What do you want to hear on the flute? Do you want to hear Perfect on the flute?
My Girl.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Did someone say My Girl? Let's do. Sahasra asked for. Oh yeah, Sahasra says sure. All right. Can we do a little bit of a? Yay, that was for you, Sahasra. Thank you for that request. That's such a, I mean, that chord progression.
It feels so good.
It feels so good.
It feels so nice.
It's so easy to see why so many people write songs on that chord progression. You're welcome, Sahasra.
You know, it's a good one. If anybody listening has the chance after this live stream is over to go on YouTube and search up just 4 chords. There's a band called The Axis of Awesome.
Yes. Which
does a video where they sing all of the songs that use, we were talking about numbers, they use 1, 5, 6, and 4 for theirs, but it's like Poker Face, Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Okay.
Like Africa by Toto.
Okay. So that's another chord progression that's super popular, tons of songs. What's the chord progression?
They do, I'm pretty sure they do 1, 5, 6, 4.
Okay.
6, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the video called?
It's just called The 4 Chords. Someone recognized it. Someone said the 4 chord song. Yes.
Okay, the 4 chord song. Cool. Why don't we get another couple of questions, Dennis? Anything you're noticing?
Yeah. Lily Kalila asked maybe some suggestions for auditions. Maybe some ideas on how to approach auditions.
Auditions. Okay. Well. I'm going to start. Well, why don't you start on this? Do you have anything to I have some ideas, but
the most is, I mean, practice as hard as you possibly can for the audition to make sure you get in there. But the biggest piece of advice that I got when I was auditioning for music schools when I was in high school was that some of the times the people who are looking for audition aren't looking for you to be perfect. They're not looking like
not like Ed Sheeran.
Not like Ed Sheeran. Hey, look at that, full circle.
Yeah.
Like when I was auditioning for music school, I had a really good friend who was also in music school, and he said, you know, they're not looking for you to be a perfect musician, because if you were a perfect musician, then you couldn't learn anything. They're looking for you like to show that you work hard. Did you put your time in? Did you try and learn these scales, these songs, these etudes, or whatever? And how did you do in the room? Did you give it your best shot? Did you stay as confident as you can?
Yeah.
And when they asked, is that the best you did? You said, yeah, that was the best. And if you leave saying then I think it was a successful audition.
Yeah. Those are all great suggestions. And I think more, also just thinking about the nuts and bolts of it, make sure when you're going to do an audition that you have looked up all the requirements and you know exactly what they're looking for. So if it's your band director or if it's for an outside group or it's for college or whatever it's for, make sure you go to their website, or wherever you need to go, and make sure you've prepared everything they've asked for.
Oh yeah.
Because I've had students come into auditions for me, and I say, okay, you know, and there's a whole part of the audition that they didn't know they had to prepare for. So that's kind of tough. You know, you really got to know that you've prepared everything that they're asking for.
Yeah, it's just like homework. It's just like
Homework.
you're doing homework for your class. Just come in knowing your homework, and everything will be fine.
All right. So let's see. Bro Blocks says, I miss you, Mr. Selfridge. Hi, bro. I miss you too, although I'm not sure who you are. But I bet you're one of my elementary school students. Okay. Let's see. Who else has a question here? We want to catch some questions. All right. Here's a nice, easy one. What's your favorite instrument? Avery's favorite instrument is trumpet. So I don't know about you, but I think this favorite instrument question is always a tough one for musicians, music teachers. It's so hard to pick. I mean, my favorite instrument, it's probably better to say what's the instrument you're the best at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the instrument you're the best at?
So
give us your top 3 or 4.
Yeah, in top 3 of comfortability, my favorite instruments I always answer this as a 2-parter. My favorite instrument that I like to play, and my favorite sounding instrument. Because my favorite sounding instrument is the cello. Ooh. I think a well-played cello is like melted chocolate. It's just the best. It's so good. It's so nice. But in terms of instruments that I play, that's pretty straightforward. Drums, guitar, and saxophone. Probably all in the general,
all in the same
vicinity.
Vicinity drum. And as you saw in the photo that we put up on the live stream, our little thumbnail photo, we had a picture of Mr. Stewart playing the drums. So I'm hoping that sometime soon we can get maybe some drum videos going.
Oh yeah, I'd love to come in and pad it out or do some.
We'll do some drum videos and maybe even some guitar stuff. Yeah. My favorite instrument, I'll say with Mr. Stewart, the one that I think sounds the most beautiful. Wow. I change every time I hear someone play something beautiful on an instrument. I think I wish I could do that.
Oh yeah.
I think an oboe.
That's what I was gonna say.
An oboe is the most beautiful sound if it's done just this beautiful sound. Cello, I'm right there with you. And I think actually cello is a lot like a tenor sax. When I play tenor sax, especially if I'm playing something slow and pretty, I try to sound like a cello. You know?
Bach cello suites, yeah.
So I try to get that.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
That sounded like a string.
It was a little reedy. But I try to get that deep cello sound. So we have, sadly, we only have about 2 minutes left. So let's try to bang out a couple of quick questions. Gavin says he has to go. Sorry. See you, Gavin. I'll see you next time. Quick questions. Quick marching band. Megan Heinrich. How do I get my toes up and shoulders square sideline?
Toes up is just roll the heel. That's a biggie. I always tell the kids, if you've ever seen Toy Story, that Woody has Andy written on the bottom of his shoe. So you have to be able to see Andy on the bottom of your toes. And then for your shoulders square, that's always the worst one because it's a little uncomfortable. When you're doing it right, you should be just a little bit uncomfortable. Okay. But I always think about someone has a string on whatever shoulder is back and they're pulling it towards the sideline. Okay. So it's like you're turning from your opposite shoulder towards the sideline. And I played saxophone when I marched in Westchester. And that stinks because we have a neck strap. So sometimes kids like rely on the neck strap. Right. And they call it arching when you do this. And really it's just pulling it towards the sideline. Okay. That's what I think about.
Good tips. Good tips. We have Cactus and Mary were asking about a ukulele. What is a ukulele? Well, ukulele is a string instrument with 4 strings, very small. And you're going to be doing some uke in middle school music class, right?
Yes, we will. Soon we will have a ukulele class that I will be teaching.
Can we do some uke on...
Oh, yeah.
On here sometime?
Yeah, totally. Okay. Would love to.
We'll do some uke. Let's see. Quick questions. Despacito on alto sax. We got a lot of... Oh, sorry. It's not Mary. It's Macy. Hi, Macy. Sorry about that. Any tips on joining a wind band? Rowan, I think you asked this before. Are you in the UK? Because I think you asked this before. You have to... I would ask any musicians in your neighborhood... in your town, if anyone knows any local universities, or I'd say local universities might be a good place to look. Community centers. I know, like I said, there's a lot of brass bands in the UK, and so maybe it's harder to find wind bands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All I can say is ask around. Maybe Google, use Google wind band and your area, and see if you can find anyone.
I think with playing out, one of the best things to do is just meet people.
Oh, Rowan said he never asked before. Okay, so someone else was asking this.
Yeah, meeting people is like the biggest thing with all of music is being nice. I know it sounds so simple and so elementary, but just being nice to other musicians and lifting other musicians up, and not putting them down. Because I know I can't tell you how many gigs I've gotten where I haven't played for the person who asked me the gig, but I had a great interaction with them, and we were really friendly towards each other. And one thing led to another, and he needed a drummer, and I told him he knew I had drums, and we had a good interaction. So it's all the people you meet and the experiences you have with them to help you get gigs. I think it is. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, a great point, and actually that's a great place to stop. Unfortunately, we have to end our live stream. We're at our 30-minute mark, and it has been awesome. Oh, I should show you guys how to do that. Next time I'll show you how to do the wah wah. That's a good idea.
Thing. I have one right over there. So I want to say, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a really cool time, and answering all your questions was super great. I hope I'll be back on the channel soon, and I'm sure I'll be around.
Yeah.
And thanks for all of the experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's bring Mr. Stewart back. What do you guys think? And we'll be back next week. So think about your questions. We'll be on, I think we're probably going to be on in this 2 to 3 o'clock time period here on the East Coast of the United States. And so thank you all for watching. Let's hear it for Mr. Stewart. Everyone clap wherever you are out there.
Loud enough that I can hear you.
Clap for Mr. Stewart. Okay. So bye, guys, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye-bye.